And welcome back, everybody, again to some basketball talk here at sunjournal.com. Tournament time, Cal. Ready?
Yes, sirree. My favorite time of year. Most wonderful time of the year.
It's Christmas for us sports folks here at the Sun Journal. Let's break down some Class B West basketball. Falmouth, of course, the number one seed coming out of Class B West. They draw a very interesting matchup in the first round because they get Poland. And Poland kind of struggled throughout the year because they were missing a couple of key players at certain times during the year due to injuries. Everybody's back, and they showed in that prelim against Mountain Valley just how back they were.
Yeah, Jake Littlefield in the 8th game of the year broke his right wrist, and it missed the second half of the season. Drew Peterson missed a good portion from late early season to early late season, about 10 games with a calcium deposit in his leg. In that stretch, Poland started 5-2. Down the stretch, they went 5-6, and then they won the prelim at Mountain Valley. Littlefield's first game back, no coincidence there, is he gave as much an emotional lift as he did a physical lift. Only 6 points, but he was just the fact that he stepped on the court, first guy off the bench, the crowd gave him a standing ovation, and just to have him back in there, as a junior was a WMC All-Star last year, 18 points a game, and was probably going to be above that pace this year before the injury. Just brings so much to that team as a leader, and first time around against Falmouth when he played, it was a 3-point game at Falmouth.
So that was during that 5-2 stretch at the
there
beginning
you
part
go,
of the season.
exactly.
So.
Second time around, Poland shorthanded, only basically was running 6 guys out there the whole game and lost by 25. But even that game there was one quarter where Falmouth went 9 for 10 from the floor. I was there that night, so I remember this well. And the only shot they missed, they got the offensive putback. So it was basically a perfect quarter, and Falmouth ended up leading by 18-20 at the half. But they're not that much above Poland when Poland's at full strength, so it'll be interesting to see.
And in that same bracket, of course, Levitt, a very good team,
Yeah.
a better than average team in KVAC this year. They match up with WMC Power York in a matchup that was the marquee matchup on the girls' side last year. And this time around in the 4-5 matchup, that's going to be as good a matchup as you're going to find too.
Yeah, and it's a rematch of the boys' quarterfinal last year, which, as you might expect, with 2 football coaches doubling as basketball coaches, will be a physical game. And you've got the man among boys for Levitt in the middle, Jordan Hersom, with his 1,000 points and 1,000 rebounds. I can't imagine anybody else has 1,000 rebounds. I mean, 13 a game from freshman to senior. Well, Levitt is that kind of team that can limit you to one shot, one and done, and when they do that and they get running with Tim Dow, with Andrew Middleton, with Tyler Walton at the point, they've got a team that can go deep in this tournament. But it's a tough matchup, as we mentioned. York with that tournament experience, they just took Falmouth to overtime, playing a tough league. Couple of go-to players in Todd and Langus. Whoever survives that game has a chance to win the region.
On the other side of the bracket, Spruce Mountain, the first time they're in Class B. As a combined unit of Jane and Livermore Falls, of course, and they draw the number 2 seed with a great run in the MVC this season. They draw Wells in that first round matchup. Again, an MVC versus Western Maine Conference matchup, but this time a little bit more disparity between a 2 and a 7 rather than a 4 and a 5.
Yeah, but I think some people might think this is the game that could be a more likely upset, just because of Wells' history, making the tournament last year. They're in that WMC. Spruce, not a deep team, and they've been dealt with some injuries the second half of the season. Ben Keene's been missing, and that's shortened their bench significantly. Spruce, one thing they do have going for them, they play tough defense in the half court. Now, how that adapts to the longer court at the Portland Expo, I don't know. They've also got good balance. They got Jake Bessie, who's kind of started to step up as the leading scorer the second half of the year, but they can also get you with Zach Barnaby from outside, and they can get you on the inside with Nate Schenk and James Barker, who's one of the best defensive players I've seen all year. So this could be one of those low-scoring games. Wells probably wants to keep it in that range anyway, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this one in the 40s. I wouldn't be surprised to see an upset, but I wouldn't be surprised either to see Spruce get the first tournament win in school history and move on. And they're a team that scares a lot of people in the WMC because nobody knows all that much about them, and that makes them an exception. They're not like Levitt; they didn't play last year,
right,
in that bracket.
Well, speaking of upsets, Lincoln, the giant slayer, if you will, in the prelims, the number 11 seed, knocking out Greeley on a last-second 3. They'll draw Yarmouth in the first one, with the winner getting the winner of Spruce Mountain and Wells. So the B West bracket, you can look at it as possibly cut and dry, but at the same time, there's room for upsets in there if the top teams aren't careful.
I think there's room for a big upset with Lincoln. They've got some size. They seem to be playing their best at the end of the year. Yeah, the record looked like not that impressive, 8-10, but when you go down to Greeley and beat that team in their house.
That's tough.
A team that's there year after year, you want to take Lincoln seriously, that's for sure. And yeah, it's an interesting bracket because you have some teams that aren't normally there. You have some, as you mentioned, the disparity in the numbers. Yarmouth's got a player in Josh Britton who might be the best individual talent in the tournament, and a team that thinks they can probably win it all, but that's a scary first game.
We'll see how that all plays out. Kalle Oaks, Justin Pelletier here for Sun Media, breaking down the Class B West Boys Tournament bracket. See you at the games.